Good evening. The October 25th, 2022 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. Vice Chair, would you mind give us our statement?
Thank you. We are the Marion County School District leadership team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first. We will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you, ma'am. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience to please remove their hats and turn off their electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located in the lobby. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Board clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Allison Campbell, District 1.
Here.
Mr. Don Browning, District 2.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Present.
Miss Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Miss Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Diane Golitz, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Powers, Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Chris Sandy, Principal of Oakcrest Elementary School, please introduce your team who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in tonight's pledge.
Good evening, Dr. Gullett and school board members. I am very proud and honored to speak with you this evening and present to you the Oakcrest family. You may or may not realize that October is attendance month, and we in the school system recognize the importance of a student being at school and a student being at school on time. When you look at attendance, there is a direct relationship between attendance and student achievement. So consequently, we need our students in school, especially first thing in the morning, which is why our tardies are so important to us, as the teacher is working hard at those foundational reading skills. Students need to be in their seats learning what the teacher has planned for the day. Well, one of the things we've learned about attendance at Oakcrest was it's been a challenge, and consequently we have addressed that challenge. We have invited our community through the years to join us to work on that challenge and improve our overall attendance. At one time, the attendance at Oakcrest was at about 87%. On a daily basis, only about 87% of the students were in attendance. The question we asked were, where were the other 13%? Well, through the support of the community, we've worked hard, and we now have our overall attendance rate up to about 91%. Yes, there are still 9% of the kids not coming to school every day, which translates to anywhere between 40 and 45 students, but it certainly is an improvement, and we celebrate those successes. We would like to share with you this evening some of the reasons why we believe our attendance has improved. And I have brought both students and staff members here during the inspiration to share with you. I would first like to introduce to you our homeschool liaison, Ms. James, our assistant social work assistant, Ms. Jennings, and our social work individual, I think they're coming up behind me, Mr. Butler. Ms. Jennings is going to share with you one of the key pieces that we believe has impacted the improvement of attendance at Oakcrest, our district response committee. That has been critical in our challenge, improving the overall success and the community's response. Ms. Jennings?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shana Jennings. I'm the school social worker assistant for Oakcrest Elementary. I've been working with the district attendance committee response for the past 5 years. I want to give a special thank you to Ms. Thrower, because if it wasn't for her, this committee would never started. Throughout this committee, we have been able to partner with different companies and businesses throughout Marion County for sponsorship to help our students as far as uniforms, attendance incentives. We have gotten donorship far as soda, chips, to give out for incentives for most improved. Throughout the district attendance committee response team, we have been able to bring our attendance up by 4%. Throughout the work of everyone, we was also able to provide a hub stop for the students that's within our community, where parents was discussing attendance barriers for their kids not being able to walk due to gun violence in the community. So with this committee, everyone was able to brainstorm, and we had transportation there, and everyone was able to get this hub stop in place. We was also able to get various donations from Junior Lee Vocella for uniforms. That was another attendance barrier, where parents said they could not afford the uniforms. That's why the kids was not able to come to school. Through our homeless department, they were able to donate a washer and dryer for us to be able to wash uniforms for kids and parents who was not able to afford to do laundry. So this committee has made a major impact with the barriers that parent has presented to us while they was not able to send their kids to school.
Our homeschool liaison, Ms. James, is been charged with the responsibility of working on Tier 1 and Tier 2 attendance. She celebrates those students that are in school every day with her Tier 1, and then she works with parents on the Tier 2, trying to keep the attendance from becoming more and more severe and more chronic. Mr. Butler, behind her, works with the homeless, and we have 35 students on our campus that have been identified as homeless. He has kind of adopted Oakcrest, and every morning he is at the front door. Would you like to meet Mr. Butler if you were tardy and explain to him the why you happen not to be here on time? I've heard him have communication with both the students, like, why have you not gotten up, to Mom, we need you here because we're teaching reading. And so Mr. Butler has been very integral this year in terms of helping us get to the improvement that we have seen. Thank you, team. Now, we also have worked with the students. One of the things we did last year is we asked students, why are you not coming to school? That seems like a good question, does it not? And their response was stunning. Their response to us was, school's boring. Why should I get up in the morning and come to school? What makes it fun? Why should I face all the challenges that it takes to get there? So we took that under our wing, and we have addressed it. One of the pieces of our program that we have put into place this year is an enrichment program. The enrichment program is working with students that are already reading proficient, but we are trying to provide for them an extension of that reading, understanding, in the informational text by providing those enrichment pieces. I would like to just give you an insight of why school is fun at Oakcrest and why I want to get up every morning and come to school. Our first group I want to share is our robotics group. And they do robotics and coding every day. Could I have those students come with me? They just want to do a little show off because they're so proud of what they've done. Come here, team. She's going to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Lillian Legg, and I will give a speech about why I like to go to robotics class and why it's fun to all of the other students that go to robotics class. Robotics class is a really fun group to be in. We learn how to code and build our creations. It makes coming to school fun. Here is our swing that we built for our amusement park. Thank you.
Would you like to let it go? Go ahead, send it off. Now they're going to show off their effort. They not only have built the swing, but they're going to show you what they've learned about coding.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, cool. Oh, what? Wow.
Great job.
Excellent. Thank you, students. We appreciate that. All right. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a seat. The next group, those were our younger learners, and the next group were our fourth graders, and we've been working on, where's our fourth grader? Come here, come on, you're gonna come up? He's a little shy. When he walked in and saw the auditorium, he thought, wow. Come here, come stand by me.
Good evening. I'm Miss Goodson. I'm the Science CAS at Oakcrest. This is my friend Romello, and he is in 4th grade. And for their enrichment block, they've been learning about chickens. We've been learning about chickens from egg through incubation to hatching. We hatched how many chickens? 6 chickens about 2 weeks ago. They've been studying all the everything to do about chickens, right? It's a pretty fun group to go. He's a little nervous, sorry. We've found that introducing students to new opportunities has increased our attendance, especially in our enrichments group. So we're loving bringing that excitement to those kids. And here are some pictures of our baby chicks that we got. Can you hold that up for me? So those are some of our chicks that we recently hatched.
Wow.
Right. Thank you. Good job.
Our third rotation is the Fans Garden. We have planted a Fans Garden, and would you like to join me? And he would like to share with you, he's going to introduce himself and share with you some of the treasures that have come out of our garden.
Oh, good job, yeah.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I am in the 5th grade. During when I work in the garden and study the plants and vegetables, we are learning about banana peppers, tomatoes, squash, and jalapenos. We are also doing a project to attract pollinators by planting milkweed. These types of activities make it fun to come to school, and here's our banana peppers. Thank you.
He brought you the banana peppers. You should see the tomatoes are going to be gorgeous. Those plants are huge. Mine are like this. Ours at school are like this. So we're going to be in good shape. We know that we still have work to do at Oakcrest. We know that Monday is our highest tardy day. We know that Thursdays are our highest absenteeism day. We know that early checkouts on Friday afternoon still continue to be a challenge, but we are working to address it. Mr. Butler, for example, indicated to me early in the school year that we had he noticed that many of when they would come to the door to meet him, that many of them were gentlemen. So he suggested that we form a Fatherhood First group. So we took his advice in this past week. We held our first Fatherhood First meeting, and we had 11 of our father figures show up for what was to have been scheduled for a 30-minute conversation. It ended up being close to an hour and a half. The gentleman, I was not there. I just brought the coffee and donuts. They joined Mr. Butler, and apparently they had a wonderful conversation, and they liked it so much that they're going to come back to campus in November, where we will be holding our second Fatherhood First conversation. So with this, we know that we're not perfect. We know we still have work to do, and we are continuing to look at our data, and it is driving the decisions that we make to impact attendance at Oakcrest Elementary. Students, would you please join me? We're going to say the pledge. Come on. Because they would like to get to their meeting, and we need to get out of their way. Okay. Ready? All right, are you ready? Are we all there? All right, let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we'd say now, please be seated. There we are. We do that every morning.
Ms. Sandy,
Yes, sir.
bring up these future engineers and farmers and everything else so we can get a picture with all of them.
I think that they could be entertained to go and do it. They would like you students to go to the front. They'd like to take a picture with you. Come on. Come on. Oh, do you want to take your, there you go. Take your banana peppers. All right, there you go. Go with a picture. Get the chicken pictures. All right, that'd be good. I know. What, sir? Oh, yes, you're up. Yeah, that'd be great. All right.
Come on, you guys.
Oh, you want it all?
The power, support, take pictures, yes, please do.
Just waiting for Mr. Browning to.
Looking right here, and 1, 2, 3, couple more.
Keep smiling, keep smiling. Keep smiling for your moms and dads.
Very good.
Thank you. Good job, guys. You did awesome. See you along. Good job. You did awesome. Peppers? Daniel, where are your peppers? Mr. Browning would like to. Yeah, I want, yeah. See you soon. There you go. Okay. Congratulations.
Parents, as you're leaving, we just want to tell you thank you for sharing your kids with us, and you all to be proud of those kids and yourselves. Thank you so much. Superintendent?
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the board. I recommend approval of the agenda for October 25th, 2022, school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of items D13.1, D13.2, D13.3, D13.4, D13.5, and D13.6 that have been placed under discussion.
Thank you. May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Board Member King. Board Member Thor? Second by Board Member King. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 11th, 2022 Special Administrative Briefing and Work Session.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Vice Chair Campbell.
Second.
Seconded by Board Member King. Are there any additions or corrections to the minute?
Yes, Chair, if I may.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, and we can, well, we'll just do them one at a time because they come up one at a time. This is the August, stand by one moment. The we still have a problem with the minutes as it relates to the comments. Now, let's see, it'd be the 18th, but we can address that when we get to the 18th, the next one. But there are no minutes in this one. No board comments, yet the comments were there. One of these does not have the video. The video does not come up. And so
What video are you referring to?
what I'm referring to, we have visual, audio record, and written minutes record. And one of them is missing completely on the video side. No minutes, no comments at all on the written minutes. We've just got to, it's the August 18th with no video.
We're on the August 11th.
Okay, I'm sorry, yes, we must stay on the proper one. No minutes, no comments, didn't happen that way. If you go to it,
Hold on, let me ask for clarity.
Yes.
You said there are no minutes?
Well,
There are minutes.
Right here, that when you look at the board comments.
So let's be clear, for clarification.
Yes, sir.
There aren't, because you said there are no minutes. There are minutes, there are no comments.
No comments in the minutes, thank you, Chair. No comments and concerns for board members. So this one, for me, I cannot approve it. It needs to go back and be an actual record, minutes of the meeting.
Any further discussion?
Chair.
Hold on, Ms.
Go
Thor.
ahead. Go ahead, I'll defer to the vice chair.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Just for clarity, well, again, August 11th, I have found the video of it. I will look for August 18th just to ensure that it is here as well. But August 11th, I have found the video. But because this was a work session, I know I personally did not submit any comments. Usually on a work session, I don't have comments formal for the record for minutes. So those are my, I know last time we had extensive conversation about this, and I specifically mentioned that I submit comments, and I don't for work sessions, and so I know that's why mine aren't there. But I'll look for the August 18th video as well, just for clarity.
Ms. Thor, Board Member Thor.
Thank you, Chair. What is legally required? Are we meeting the legal requirement? My understanding is that we have videos that show all of the often comprehensive commentary made by all board members, that unless we use taxpayer money to pay a court reporter to get everything verbatim, it's all there on the video. So where are we legally with this? I'd like to know.
Yes, as I've addressed previously, the requirements of minutes are that we keep, by Florida statute, essentially that we keep a vote and record of who was present and how, what the vote resulted in. According to Robert's Rules of Order, there's no further restriction beyond that. Anything that we do in addition to that is at our discretion. I will say also legally, it is only appropriate, and through Robert's Rules, it's only appropriate to, it's not really an approval of minutes, if someone wishes to offer corrections of the minutes, you would have to offer the correction, and then the correction is accepted or rejected, and we move forward. But there has to be an offer of a correction, otherwise there's nothing to be done.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, well, it's my, if you look back, I think I use the reference 20 years plus going back, there was always a synopsis, a subject matter. So if a person wanted to look, they could see that board member number 2 address these topics. And it's helpful to have minutes so you can see what took place. There are very few things as important as a board member under the Sunshine Law. The only time you can speak on something that you're voting on, the only time you can speak to a fellow board member is during the board meeting. So it's incredibly important to be able to address topics, and we've always done that. And it isn't a verbatim, because you can go and look at the video if you want to do that, but you're going to have to find the video. Often, as a practical matter, what takes place is a person goes to the minutes and they print the minutes out, for example, or just look at them online, and that informs them as to what took place and the position that people had, board members had. That's what's always been. I use it when I'm not on the board. I use it when I'm on the board to inform me as to what was taking place and the positions people were taking. And it's very helpful. I mean, it's just very informative. Not a real tricky thing, but somehow that has that changed in this last year, and it got to the point where one board member was being left off. And I'll leave that alone, but I will say that all board members should be noted when an item is brought up, because we're here to communicate. That's the whole deal. So I'm not happy with this, nor do I think anyone on the board should be submitting their minutes. They can submit, certainly, that's fine, but it's not incumbent on a board member to do that particular task. So I'm not in favor of this one. I'm happy to go on and address it in a workshop, but that's where I am on this one. We've got another one coming right after this, so.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Listen, board members, I've just been informed, we have to be able to speak directly into the mic because you can't hear, the audience can't hear because of some air conditioning.
Was that loud enough? Hold on,
Mr. Browning. Hold on, Mr. Browning.
I'm sorry.
So please, in our comments, let's go ahead and make sure that we're speaking directly into the microphone so that the audience can hear us as well. Thank you, guys. Also, we need to, we ready to vote on this issue? Board Member Thor?
Thank you, Chair. I do need a little bit more clarification, and I just want to make sure I understand. We have minutes. There's no dispute about the minutes, that the minutes are there and they are legally done the way they're supposed to be done and they are available. Is that correct?
From legal, that is correct. Florida Statute 1001.42, Powers and Duties and Responsibilities of the District School Board. Number 1, require minutes and records to be kept. Require the district school superintendent as secretary to keep such minutes and records as are necessary to set forth clearly all actions and proceedings of the school board. Going down to section A, the minutes of each meeting shall be reviewed, corrected if necessary, and approved at the next regular meeting, provided this action may be taken at an intervening special meeting if the district school board desires. These minutes shall be kept as public record in a permanent location. B, minutes contents, and this is what you were asking about. The minutes shall show the vote of each member present on all matters on which the district school board takes action. It shall be the duty of each member to see to it that both the matter and his or her vote thereon are properly recorded in the minutes. Unless otherwise shown by the minutes, it shall be presumed that the vote of each member present supported any action taken by the district school board in either the exercise of, violation of, or neglect of the powers and duties imposed upon the district school board by law or rule, whether such action is recorded in the minutes or is otherwise established. It shall also be presumed that the policies, appointments, programs, and expenditures are not recorded in the minutes, but made and actually in effect in the district school system were made and put into effect at the direction of the district school board, unless it can be shown that they were done without the actual or constructive knowledge of the members of the district school board. The last 3/4 of that is not really applicable in this situation. The contents specifically are the vote of each member present on all matters on which the school district board takes action. That's what needs to be present in the minutes. Everything that may be included in minutes beyond that is not a legal requirement. And if the board has a goal, tradition, or anything else that we have any sort of alternative or additional requirements, those are not requirements justifying correction from a legal perspective, so that's optional.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So we have minutes covered confidently and legally. When it comes to board member comments, they're, by the very nature of our deep and extended comments, I can see why a synopsis would be occurring. Problem with synopsis is things can be taken out of context when you're trying to summarize like that. And just because it's the way we've always done it is to include board member comments, we're always looking to improve in this district and improve our practices. So would it be legal and possible to put as part of the minutes for board member comments, please see video linked or something along those lines, so folks like Board Member Browning and others that may not go online to look for the video first and actually go to our website and bring up the minutes to look, can then just click on a link in the future? and fast forward right to the comments and hear everything the way it was said. It's just an idea.
The board may direct the board clerk to do so. If it were something that were going to be a regular course of action, I would suggest that it is something to be incorporated within the bylaws that accurately captures exactly what you want included in minutes, and so that would require amendment of the bylaws. Otherwise, that is simply within the discretion of the board to collectively tell the board clerk to include. But as of right now, there is nothing within the bylaws, within Robert's rules, or within statute that requires anything more than what is outlined by 1001.42.
Okay. And so I would just hope that the board at the right time and place take my suggestion under advisement. I think we're all about transparency, and the videos are out there anyway. So if a link can be embedded, and we can do that in the future, whatever it takes, it'd be something to suggest. That's all I have.
And Board Member Thor, I like the suggestion. I don't know if a link could actually be attached. I don't know if a link could be put in there. Can it?
I think within our minutes currently, the way that it's announced by the superintendent at the beginning of each meeting is that the audio recording is I don't know if it says it's attached or if it's incorporated by reference therein.
Right. Okay. So maybe we need to put the time in the minutes. I guess our board clerk can actually look at the meeting and say, this is the time the board comments started. Put that in the minutes, and then a link beyond it. Anything after 6:35, our board comments.
The agenda is already included, so
it's in the,
as to what time it began, that if you wish inclusion of that, that's fine. But the board agenda is already included within those minutes.
Okay.
Chair, yes, thank you. I think Mr. Davis has some additional comments that may provide some clarification on what's allowable there.
Well, Mr. Davis.
I was just letting her know that, yeah, we can include a link when I'm doing the board minutes, and I can just timestamp it, like you said, and say, like, the video comments start at 1:35 and end at, and then we include that from now on. That's easy to do.
Thank you. And also, I know in the prior meeting, we also talked about this, and we stated that if you wanted to include your particular comments, that you are welcome to type them out and send them to the board clerk, and they would include them word for word, so that there would not be any lost in translation commentary put in there. So I think those remedies are still available to all of us. So I don't have an issue with this one. My comments were commentary. They were not meant to be anything else other than commentary.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yes. My issue when I brought it up initially was this evolved, and contrary to the comments from legal, I spent a lot of time looking down through our policy manual and what it is we do and maintain communications with the citizens. So this is what the board, what their intent is, make policy decisions, render these decisions, facts furnishing, refusing to surrender that judgment to individuals or special groups. In other words, you've got to stick to your guns on issues, standards of boardmanship, which is our bylaws. So the way this evolved was historically there were all five. And it was real simple. There wasn't any misunderstanding. It was just pretty straightforward. Then there was a board member who was, for whatever reason, I won't characterize it as in terms of motives, but Board Member Browning was scrubbed off. So there were four and only one. I brought several of those to that meeting. We can have a workshop on it. And so I've said, no, that is not appropriate. If one all board members should be treated the same, and in addition to that, it's incredibly standards of boardsmanship. Now, that didn't come from us. It came from a school board association, but nonetheless, that's somehow it got into our minutes or into our bylaws that way. But it's real straightforward what our purpose is here. And when because of the Sunshine Law, now we speak to the Sunshine Law regularly at the start of each meeting. Because of the Sunshine Law, maintain orderly conduct, do this, do that. Well, we also are under the Sunshine Law, probably a whole lot more than anybody else. So when we speak, it should be recorded. That's this board members. That's for District 2. That's this board members' opinion on this. I'm happy to go forward and vote on the issue. Didn't mean to take this long, really. I'm just not happy with the way it's evolved in the last 12 months. So I don't know. The board has full discretion as to what you want in your minutes. I won't be on the board as the middle of next month. So do your own thinking on it. But the grand jury talks to the idea of management versus mismanagement. So full disclosure, full information out there. It's just prudent. And if you're going to put anybody in, put them all in. And I would say don't change it just for the fun of it, without board direction. That was, I got a memo, I assume you all did too, that said we decided, and it was not the board, it was an individual staff member, I guess. So, long story short, let's just be as communicative as we can be and move on.
Thank you. I heard you say you were ready to vote.
Yes, I am.
Okay. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed have the same sign.
No.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 18th, passes 4-1, I'm sorry. Passes 4-1. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 18th, 2022 administrative briefing and work session? Moved by Board Member King.
Second.
Second by Board Member Throer. Are there any additions or corrections to the minute?
Yes, Board.
Board, Mr. Brown?
Chair.
We're at the 10-minute.
Corrections. This is what the comments need to be regarding corrections to the.
Corrections.
Without corrections to the minute as a point of order, there is nothing else that needs to be discussed.
Correct. If there's corrections.
Correction offered, and then minutes are accepted unless the correction is taken by the body.
Correct. So are you offering a correction, Board Member Browning?
Yes, I have a item number 4.2, August 18th. I was unable to pull that up as a video. However, in the minutes, 2 board members are listed, but not the others. You were able to pull it up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
With a search of August 18th, 2022 Marion County School Board, you can access that video record.
Okay.
In YouTube.
All right, thank you. 2 board members were listed. I don't think that's accurate. I am not. I'd like this to go back, and let's just be sure. I'm very happy to see that it does come up. Several of us tried to make it come up, and we couldn't make it come up. So, all right. So thank you, Chair. I believe this should go back and be for that item be reassessed. Thank you.
When I look at the August 18th meeting, it states who was present. It was more than 2. Board Member Kelly King, Nancy Throer, Eric Cummings, Allison Campbell, and Don Browning were present. Am I looking at the right one? August 18th? So there's...
Chair, in the comments section, just for clarity, Mr. Browning's comments are mentioned there. Additionally, I had submitted in writing comments that were submitted to the board clerk, and they are included in this record.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Browning's comments are first.
Yes.
So, are we ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign.
No.
Passes 4-1. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board on tonight.
Thank you, sir. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at this evening's meeting, either regarding one of today's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the lobby. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board's clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. This evening, speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in order of receipt by the school board clerk. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child, unless the statement's provided 24 hours in advance. The board is here to listen to your comments only. You may be directed to an administrator or staff member following the conclusion of your comments for further assistance to address your concerns. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students or their families are also strictly prohibited. A public speaker's speech does not reflect the endorsement, sponsorship, position, or expression of the school district. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements. Chair, that concludes my explanatory remarks.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Mr. Davis, do we have any?
Yes, we have 6. First, Natalia Cox.
Good afternoon. Natalia Cox, 50 Teague Loop, Ocala, Florida, 34472. I appreciate the time given to me to address the board respectfully. I am here because I am a parent of 3 children that have attended Marion County Public Schools. I currently have a senior, the youngest one, who attends Forest High School. Forest High School had a code red last Friday because a gun allegedly was found in one of the bathrooms. I received a call from the principal saying that it had moved from code red to code yellow. And then probably about 40 minutes later that the whole situation had been neutralized, thank God. Benjamin Franklin said, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." I'm here to request the board consider preventive methods to secure our children. I think the staff did a wonderful job at informing us and keeping us abreast of the situation. Law enforcement was there on site as well. Personally, I have been to the school to pick up my daughter on several occasions. There's a policy where you ring the bell. They ask you who you are and what you're there for. They allow you to come in. I think that is a measure of prevention, but I feel that the access needs to be tightened. There's no reason why guns should be making it to schools. None whatsoever. Just last night I heard on the news there was another shooting in St. Louis, 2 dead. It's just devastating to go through this and hear this on a daily basis. And my fear is that we're not becoming desensitized to the issue. I feel that a lot of students have a lot of problems at home with mental illness added to it, pressures. I feel that the school has tried. They have law enforcement on site. They have limited access. However, the access by the children has to be monitored tightly. I don't know who brought that gun into the school, but it was probably someone that was part of the student body. So I respectfully request that the board consider tightening the security, not only at Forest High School, but all the schools in Marion County. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Princess Swan.
Hi, my name is Princess Swan. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm actually addressing you guys today as a former student of the Marion County School Board. So thank you for all of the great education. And actually from this, I was able to go to Cornell and also do research at Columbia. And I just happened to be stopping by in Ocala. And basically, I heard the code red that happened last Friday. And actually, my sister is currently a senior at Forest. And I understand, of course, that these things, unfortunately, are happening, and there's really, in some way, no way to prevent it. So we have to start brainstorming and thinking together, what can we do to ensure that these weapons are not on campus? And just coming here today, I saw that there was a metal detector outside, and perhaps we could also put some at schools. I understand, of course, it's a logistical issue, but I'm sure we could get a corporate sponsor who could help to brainstorm what we could do actively and proactively, and also, of course, just helping with the mental health component and ensuring that students have the resources that they need. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mark Eric Avery.
Good evening. My name is Mark Eric Avery. I reside at 3 Diamond Ridge Way, Ocala, Florida, 34472, and that's Avery. I currently am the president of the Marion Education Association, and we happen to be the bargaining agent for the instructional bargaining unit. Tonight, you have on discussion the recently worked on contract between the two sides, and so since you're going to discuss that, I thought it'd be appropriate that we added some information from our side also. We spent a lot of time this year working on the contract. I know that last year a lot of members came in and spoke negatively about the bargaining process and how it worked. And I would proudly say that this year the district and the association worked diligently over the last 6 months, including working in the summer when we could make dates work to try to get this done. Although we had, as two teams, had created a date where we wanted to be done, we didn't quite make that, but we have reached an agreement that the two sides seem to agree on. I will tell you that the instructional bargaining unit has ratified it on their side, so now it's only on your court to approve this idea. And so we are diligently, I can tell you that there's teachers watching tonight, hoping that there will be a vote of yes from the board so that we can move forward with this new contract that will be in place for the next 3 years. And then we look forward to continue this progress in future sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Avery.
Helen Hamill.
Good evening. Helen Hamill. I reside at 3445 Southeast Highway 42, Summerfield, Florida, and the last name is Hamill, Hamel. I stand before you tonight, and I actually want to start off with a big thank you All right. You guys have before you the chance to approve our collective bargaining agreement. I am a member of the instructional unit. And this is the first time in my career that I am able to sign and fully ratify my contract before the end of the first semester. This is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the speed and efficiency with which both sides negotiated this collective bargaining agreement. As with all bargaining sessions, there were concessions made and compromises met and discussions held. This contract is a great start. I am so excited that this great start can happen now. We can start thinking about the year ahead instead of thinking about the year that we've already finished. It's amazing. Thank you so much. I would like to thank both bargaining teams, both on behalf of the district side and Marion Education side. They worked so hard and so diligently to come to this agreement. I urge you to vote in approval of the agreement so that we can start talking about next year, where hopefully we can tackle some contractual issues like planning time, maybe that compression of salary for the first couple years of teachers. And also it would be great to revisit things like academic integrity and choice of materials in classrooms. Those are excellent topics. We're going to get a chance to start talking about them now because we have hopefully, after tonight, approved the collective bargaining agreement. Again, thank you so much, and I urge your approval of the collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Hamill.
How refreshing.
Robert Kohler.
Robert Kohler, Kohler, 6 Chestnut Place, Ocala, Florida, 34480. It's come to my knowledge, last board meeting, you guys came up with a plan for a 5-year plan to basically perfect our kids' education. I commend you guys for coming up with a 5-year plan. That does absolutely nothing for me, who my kids are sophomores in high school. By the time the 5-year plan is complete, they'll already be done and in college. So I recommend to you guys to somehow to figure out how to speed up that process. I think we need to look at English classes. One of my son's assignments was to compare and contrast the racial issues of the past to the gay rights movement of nowadays. That has no business to be in English class whatsoever. We need to focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Not whether To Kill a Mockingbird was racist, not about rights, not about learning about gayness. That's fine. My kids are very religious. How would anyone like it if they go through and parade their religious beliefs throughout the school? It's not allowed. So I don't understand why other beliefs are allowed to go throughout the school. So I ask you guys to please evaluate teachers' material that they're using, and let's make sure it's appropriate for the class. My son's English class was changed, and the assignment was basically reversed to compare and contrast MLK to situations today. Yes, MLK belongs in there, belongs in a history class. Doesn't belong in a reading class. Putting opinions in as whether a book is good, bad, ugly, or whatnot, that doesn't belong in a classroom. It's everyone's opinion. Just as you guys went through a vote earlier on opinions on what the rules you guys have and could agree to disagree on it, some things just need to be left out of the school. I ask you guys to get more involved with the teachers and see what's going on, how the grades are graded. Most teachers are grading 50% on tests. If you have a student that can't take a test well, but doesn't qualify for help, they're set up to fail right away. Homework's only at 10% of their grades because they tell me that the board has set it up that homework can only be assessed at 10%. I get we're trying to make every student equal, but instead of bringing the top standards down, let's bring the bottom standards up. Just like the principal said earlier, that they can't get all their students in the class, and I commend them for trying their hardest. It all starts at home. So if at home doesn't believe in homework, doesn't believe in school, those kindergartners, first, second grades, those kids aren't coming up with those ideas alone that school isn't important, it's boring, there's nothing to learn there. So I know you guys are challenged with that fact, But we as parents and you guys as a board need to up the standards instead of lowering them. Touching on gun safety, we had an issue at Forest High School that everyone's touched on. The police, thank God, they did their due diligence to prevent it. If they didn't, I can tell you, it didn't matter what race, what sex you were as a parent. Everyone out in the schoolyard waiting to get the all clear and everything was good was all on board to be together the way it should be. It shouldn't take a gun incident. It shouldn't take the World Trade Center being blown up. It shouldn't take nothing like that to get us to come together. We're all the same. I can actually look at the school board and say, hey, we have females on it. We have African American men. We have all sorts of races, all sorts of ethnicality up there, the way it's supposed to be. So with the gun safety issue, I ask that you guys get with Sheriff Billy Woods. Let's come up with a way to get metal detectors inside the school. I understand there's a cost. There was at least 50 police officers there that day. The week before, one of the other high schools had the same incident. I'm sure there was 50 cops there. How much money are we spending on police to go in and police the situation? Luckily, it's just a gun and did not go off. But the cost of that in the long term, I guarantee will equal out or come out ahead. And we know our kids are safe and our staff that does an excellent job is safe. I thank you guys for your time, and I ask that you take these measures into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Kohler.
Gary Byron White.
Hello, I'm Gary White, representative of the Ocala Tea Party. It's your Florida Tea Party. God, country, and Constitution. That's what we teach, and that's what we work on. Always glad to come before y'all. I would like to start by this last gentleman spoke quite eloquently about the situation relative to school safety, and I'd like to just repeat some things that Billy Woods said the other night. Sheriff Billy Woods proposed that his department bring the necessary tools and expertise to the Marion County schools. There are costs to mitigate those issues, and I don't know if that cost can be reduced to the school board by accepting Sheriff Billy Woods' proposal or not. But the proposal to bring his department's expertise only makes sense since they have all the tools. And actually, beyond that, the school board, in my opinion, should not be in the police business. That should be totally, the school board should not be in this police business. That should be totally separate from the school board functions. The school board and the sheriffs needs to make this collective effort we need to write experts into the right slots, and I say bring on the sheriff's department for the school system. I think it's very important. We have a $900 million budget. Over the past 8 years, that budget has grown, doubled, maybe even more than doubled. And during this time, we have talked about examination of the different items that are being proposed before you, which you have some great account for and can look into deeply. If we would examine those different things and try to cut even 5% off of a $900 million, that's almost $1 billion, $900 million, don't you think we could get 2 or 3% would almost cover what we're asking in the 1 mil tax, which we of Tea Party are extremely against. You asked us for this tax 8 years ago, sunset. That means they go away. So you came back, and we trusted you, and you came back and you asked, in all honesty, could we do it again? And we loved you, so yes, we thought everything was cool. We'd do it again. Well, it has run out. We have had time to put all this money into the school budget so that it could be budgeted and dispersed by the school. With the new real estate tax availability and all the money that we have, even without it, it should have been put into the budget. And I just want to vehemently oppose at this point having a tax extended that should have been stopped, that should be stopped this year for sure. So the one thing about the police, that is just another school bureaucracy if you guys take it on. We have a 7,500 people bureaucracy in this school system. It's hard, and I know it's hard for you guys, you folks, to accomplish anything with that kind of a bureaucracy government over you, asking this and asking that. But if we could get the bureaucracy cut down, we'd have plenty of money to have school safety and plenty of money to accomplish all the things that you all want to accomplish. I know you do. You got the kid in the school right there in that chair, and that's who we want to start touching every day. So please vote against the 1 mil levy and keep up the work on the school safety. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, any more?
That's all, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. White, for your public comments. May I have a motion to adopt the 2022-2023 Student Progression Plan?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Vice Chair Campbell.
Second.
Seconded by Board Member King.
Thank you. The 2022-2023 Student Progression Plan will reflect changes in legislation in order to be in compliance with Florida Statute 1008.25 and to clarify language concerning student progression in Marion County.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the 2022-2023 Student Progression Plan? Any discussion, board members? Mr. Bryan?
Yes, thank you. Goodness gracious, plan your work and work your plan. It's incredibly important to have a plan. When I look into the next 5 years, I start with today. And as most of you probably know, I'm absolutely in shock, and I'm deeper in shock every month, say, as I learn more about testing, as I learn more about the problems and the lack of actual achievement, grade level achievement in this district and across the state of Florida. There's a fundamental flaw, I think, in government bureaucracy. I love, let me just say, I went through it. It was probably the most perfect document in terms of branding. I couldn't find any flaws with like 95 pages of great material in this plan. However, we've got to start with the idea that a plan won't solve it. Now, a plan is a great thing, but we've got to be outraged to make change. We've got to be outraged at 50% of our kids not making grade. Teachers say, golly, we're judging them for college at the 10th grade. Testing has got to be revisited on a statewide level and on a local level. It's not working. The truancy issue needs to be addressed. I think it's a big part of it. The grown-ups have a plan, and it's perfect. The kids get in there, and the teachers get in there in the classroom, and it's not perfect. And it shows that it's not perfect. I don't know exactly where to start, except you start today, right now, and everybody decide if they're not just totally outraged at the current status. And this isn't pointing fingers at individuals or blaming, it's just stating that if this were the Navy and it was a fleet, half of the ships are not sailing. That's just inappropriate. I don't care what you plan for the future. I want things to start working better. I want to see some outrage at where we are right now, just as a human being. We have rules and rules and rules in these plans, and we have to have that. I could not personally, nor do I think anyone here could do it. I'm just in awe of our superintendent that she can have a plan. Certainly she has to have a tremendous amount of staff to make this thing go. 100 pages of these things. I mean, it is absolutely staggering how complicated it is. And I want to break it down. When I say I want to, as a board member for the 2nd District, I want to have each student, I want to have the entire forward plan start with a student sitting at a desk hearing a lesson plan from a teacher. Nothing deeper than that. Yes, we need all the rest of this, I guess, in the modern times. But unless we're outraged at half, if it was Ford Motor Company, I said here recently, if it's Ford Motor Company and half of the vehicles, the wheels fell off when they left the factory, it would be unacceptable. And I can't say it more plainly than that. I love the work the superintendent's doing, but recently we had one of the counties in the state of Florida, the grand jury looked at them, and the big issue was mismanagement, not moving forward, bureaucracy, kind of talking a good line, and they called it branding. Everything was great when they spoke about it. Certainly you're not going to get up here and say, wow, we need a mess. We need to create more of a mess. We need more ignorance. You're certainly not going to do that. But what's happening is we brand things as super. We have the greatest outlook. We love our children. We're doing the greatest thing since sliced bread. We're 1 point from a B. But they don't say that it's a bell curve that has half, or more than half, failure. Think about that as a human being trying to get an education and trusting that you will get an education. I'm just staggered. I'll go along with the plan, but I demand as a human being outrage at 50% failure. Can't take it, won't take it. Going forward, this year, I want these schools to begin to focus a student, second student, whatever it takes to get up to the maximum class size, a teacher. The teacher will implement a lesson plan and educate those children. Yes, you'll have outliers, 5 deviations, standard deviations from the mean, and that we'll work on. But the mass better be up in that 90% of A's, B's, C's, kind of C's I used to struggle for as a student, and the D's, and then an F. And we've got to have that start at the top, not in the middle. So, sorry to be so outraged and not bashful about it, but this is a sacred honor and duty to educate children. Everybody in this room, including everybody on this board, were educated, and I will do my utmost to see that that continues as we go forward in this great nation, and that we start today outraged by the loss of half of our students. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are we ready to adopt the 2022-2023 Student Progression Plan? All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes 5-0. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C7.1 through C12.1 with the exception of items D13.1, D13.2, D13.3, D13.4, D13.5, and D13.6 that have been placed under discussion. May I have a motion? Motion by Board Member King, seconded by Board Member Thorough. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the bid 3952 GM Copy and Reproduction Services Term Contract?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Thorough.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Any discussion?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. We've got a major problem here. We're looking for money, and we're stewards of our money. I've spent a career in dealing with bids and getting the most for funds that are entrusted to me, whatever my particular responsibility was in that organization. This is $120,000, and there's a major issue if you send out 148 requests for bid and one bid request is returned. There's a fundamental flaw, unacceptable in the world of commerce, completely unacceptable in the world of commerce. Something is wrong. I mean, grossly wrong when you can't get for a common item. This is not way out there. A copy, Office Depot, any of these companies can get copy and reproduction services. Reproduction services. It is specialized, yes, but one bid is unacceptable, and it has to be rejected. It was rejected, and it went back to one. But something is fundamentally wrong when you have a single bid. I remember for years, one company could do a major medical form for the state of Florida because they had altered the size of the gap space in the press. That meant instead of it being 1/4 of an inch, it was just slightly less by about a 1/16 on either side. Nobody could meet the specs, couldn't bid. In that particular situation, we altered the press and answered the bid, shocked everybody. At our list price, we were way under, but that was our list price. So something is fundamentally wrong. I think you all kind of know that. If you're out buying and there's only one to choose from, It's fundamentally flawed. It's got to get straightened up. I'm not in favor of this, and this is in no way castigating the one that did return. I just want to have, if you can't get 10 companies bidding on something as ubiquitous as copying, then something's wrong. We've just got to do a better job of being stewards of the money. Thank you, Chair.
Board Member Thor?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Board Member Browning, in your outrages, you were looking into this. What was shared with you as the reason for only receiving one bid, sir?
I'll take a question. I'm not here to be questioned. I've spent considerable time and energy trying to make this thing fit, to try to find some degree of righteousness or glamour in the way this money is being spent. I can't stand like when we do construction, we rotate through the same 5 builders, for example. We have repeatedly estimated full amounts take this entire bucket of money and then give us back what you don't use. That's the kind of thing, ma'am, that it's unacceptable in the real world when you're talking about big dollars. It's just, it would never happen in a normal company. It typically doesn't happen here. I see some pretty good numbers. I see some pretty good efforts to achieve the lowest possible cost for the highest possible value. I mean, that's just the way you have to do it. However you get there are professionals in the world on the bidding, on the request for bid side. There are professionals in the world on the supply side. And if you only have one to pick from, I say it's flawed. It just is not acceptable to me. I hope that answers your question, ma'am.
No, sir, it didn't, but I'm ready to move on. Thank you.
And with this, let's vote. I was going to say something, but it's not worth it. Let's go ahead and vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same sign.
No.
Passes 4-1. May I have a motion to approve the price adjustment request for 2 awarded items contained in bid 3915AH janitorial and sanitary paper supplies for Central Warehouse due to volatility in the marketplace. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Thor. Second by Board Member King. Any discussion?
Yes, Chair. For me, if you just tack on to the last item that came up and then add to it an absolutely no. When you bid in the world of commerce, you bid to fulfill a service or a product over a period of time. Those are the components that are in there. You have event measured contingencies that can void a contract, for example. However, the idea that someone is not making enough money on their bid would just, for my part, as a steward of these funds, and that's called management by the grand jury, by the way, versus mismanagement. If you're not happy, then you need to bow out. You need to get out of business and will not take your bid the next time if you're not going to stand good. If prices dropped, I doubt very much that they come running in and saying, oh, wait, you get 2 cars for the price of 1 here because prices dropped. So I'm absolutely, if you all look into that, dig into it, increased prices are being passed down on their products. Well, whoopee-doo. That might just be because they haven't bid properly or something's going on in their operation. It's incumbent on them to get the job done. Once you have a contract, like if we have our teachers, our employees, automobiles, anything you buy, you determine the value, you determine the cost, and you come to an agreement, and that's it. If somebody wants to back out, then back out, but you kind of wreck your reputation. We in the business call it put on your big boy pants and come and do business. And if you say you're going to do something, do it. I absolutely will not go backwards and if they didn't prepare properly or something was wrong, I won't go backwards and bail them out. We don't run their company, and we don't ensure that with whatever their management style, they make a profit or their profit is very large. That is not the business we're in. We're in the business of getting the greatest amount of value for the least dollar cost. It's that simple. Thank you, Board Chairman.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign.
No.
Passes 4-1. May I have a motion to approve renew bid 3898 GM HVAC UVC lighting equipment term contract? May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Chair Campbell.
Second.
Seconded by Board Member Thorold. Any discussion?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. The key to this is it's $1.5 million for HVAC, air conditioning, and for the great scientific idea of using ultraviolet light to diminish growth, especially something that might be toxic and get into the air in the mold world, in the spore world. The second half, I don't have a problem with our air conditioning vendors, and I don't have a problem with their use of UVC, ultraviolet. It's a wavelength that just a mold or living biomass has trouble dealing with. But what I have a problem with, and this isn't a deal breaker, but for a year I've been trying to get the ionic air purity system involved in this. It's the second step. It's the second use of ultraviolet into tungsten. It releases an ion. It's like rubbing your feet on the carpet in a hotel and putting your fingers to a doorknob or a fire escape or something. You get a spark. Those are electrons that you pick up. It's building. Somebody gave them up, and it's an ion at this point. It's very, very standard. If we got another issue, if we do have issues with health, with flu and that type of thing in enclosed environments, I'm just amazed that we still haven't gotten, and this is not terribly expensive, we still have not gotten ionic air cleaning. It's standard in hospitals, standard in dentists, standard almost everywhere you go when you're enclosed in an area, and we don't have it. And I want to get that conversation going. It's an important area for the future. It's what happens is when you get that extra electron attaches to an air molecule like H2O, and a virus is the same thing, gets attached, it's attracted to greater mass, and like a filter, it can't get through. It sticks, kind of like your hair might stick. If you had long hair and you rubbed your feet on the floor, you put your hair over there, boom, it sticks to the filter. And it's a freebie in nature, in the ionic bonding. So it's mandatory that we move on into the next step of air purity. We put that in the Fort McCoy VA home. They didn't have a single COVID situation. And we did that before COVID hit, by the way. It was just a charity thing through the Lions Club. It's just something that's very standard out there, and I'd like to see the fact that we're discussing this is super. I'd like to see that as a major issue coming forward next year. Thank you, Chair.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Marion Education Association and School Board of Marion County 2022 through 2025?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Chair Campbell.
Second.
Second by Board Member Thor.
No.
We all wanted to say
bit
motion
on that
to
one.
approve.
Combined second. Any discussion?
Let's not mess up the minute.
Any discussion?
Yes, Chair.
Mr. Browning.
Yes, thank you. This is, pay really matters. This is almost $7 million. It's so exciting. But what would be more exciting is if we spent more money on our people. And the way that I see that we can get to it is the tremendous amount of money we spend going to experts out of the county. I would like more opportunity, call it a side hustle, I don't know. It's if we have experts and we have a program we want to develop, I'd like to see more emphasis on teachers, on experts that we have within our employee being able to tackle some of those subjects. It's so exciting to me to see people actualize, to achieve their highest level of accomplishment. And for me, I'd like to see this, I'm just picking a number, 25% more opportunity for our beautiful, talented people to become a competitor for all those dollars that go out. And I'm just going to throw a number out there. Well, I won't throw a number. I'll just say tens of millions of dollars go out for experts and expert programs. And I would like to see a contest begin with competition wherein our teachers, our cabinet, our administrative people, we got PhDs or something, some doctor designation, and I think we could go the next mile, and maybe if we don't get to 25%, maybe 10% additional opportunity, because they're right there and they can author some incredibly good things for this county because they're from this county. And then perhaps they could sell them out going in another direction, or we could, and become the experts. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Thor.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, in my years with the district, I've been just honored to be associated with many teachers that have taken their ideas to the next level. And we have certainly benefited from that in all kinds of ways. I'd like to focus a little bit on the historic nature of the negotiations and how everyone involved really went to the mat to make sure that our employees, who are such a critical and valuable resource, I'll just leave it right there, need to know and have stability in what their school year is going to look like. And to be able to have this settled, hopefully with a majority vote tonight, is very near and dear to my heart as an educator. I intend that this will just become the way that we do things, and it's a huge step forward for our district. 78% of our operating budget, which those of us that follow school finance, there's money that can only be used for certain things in certain places. And 78% of our operating budget right off the top goes towards salary and benefits. And to me, that I can't think of money better spent, and I'll be very happy to be voting yes on this tonight. So thank you for coming up and acknowledging your excitement as well, Mr. Avery, and long-term educator, Ms. Hamill, thanks for hanging in, and I'm more than ready to vote on this one.
Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you. I was going to save this to my board comments on the end, but I am super grateful that we have reached this point at this time of year. This board was adamant. This board was adamant when we finished last year at the end of, or excuse me, when we were finishing last year's agreement. At the end of the school year, we were adamant to get to work as soon as possible so that we would reach this point. And I'm also looking forward to the team getting started right now, as soon as we finish approving this, to get started on the 2023-2024 agreement. I know that there are some challenges with that. Ms. Boston Ellis always tells us we're always held up on the money side, and with session being later in the year than it normally is, I know we'll have a little bit of issue with that, but this board has been adamant that we want to make sure that this becomes the standard, that this becomes the norm, that we have these agreements at the beginning of the school year, as close to the beginning of the school year as possible, and that's the vision and what this board is intending to do moving forward. So I, too, am excited to vote on this one.
Ms. King?
Yes, well, I'm like, this is a great way for me to end, because this has always been tough and so sometimes sticky. And to actually have Mr. Avery and Ms. Hamill come up today and actually were happy about it. It was refreshing, as Ms. Thrower said, and kind of a relief. And I'm really happy and excited that after this is approved, there can be discussion. As Ms. Hamill mentioned, there was probably other things that they want to discuss and bring to the table other than maybe just money. So I'm glad that you guys are being proactive and listening to your teachers and, our employees, so that we can better, or they can better help them be successful in their classrooms. So I, too, am looking forward to voting on this. Thank you.
And thank you, board members, for all of your comments on this. And I think most of us probably had this down to actually discuss in our board comments. However, I think this is an appropriate time that we can go ahead and get it out of the way. Ms. Hamill, Mr. Avery, to all of our staff, we are all, as Vice Chair Campbell said, we're all on board. I can say that. We were all on board in making sure that that our staff would not be working in the dark for a whole year, not knowing what was going to happen. And that was important to us, because you all are important to us, and making sure that there was a good agreement that came out of this. I thank the teams that worked together in such a timely manner. And we are looking forward to starting next year's as well, and hopefully that as things go forward, this will not be an exceptional thing. This would be the norm, that we would get it done earlier, and that when schools start, you already know where you're going to be. But it takes a team effort for that to happen, and we had a real great team effort this time. So I'm grateful for that happening. Ms. Thor?
Thank you, Chair. And there is just don't want to be remiss. Certainly mentioned Ms. Hamill and Mr. Avery, and I also want to mention specifically Mr. Carson. I see him in the audience. Mr. Brian Green, who's not with us tonight, and J.C. Oliver for their efforts on the bargaining side. It takes two sides to tango, I guess, and well danced.
So I'm tired of talking Talk is cheap. They want to hear the vote, so.
That's right.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes unanimously, happily unanimously, 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for current identified Tier 1 comprehensive support and improvement schools between Marion County Public Schools, Marion Education Association for 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024 school years, and Marion Education Support Professionals 2022, 2023 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Thor, seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. In discussion.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yes, thank you. The 300, almost 400,000, you get to 400, it's $500,000, easy to say. All right. When we have deficiency and we have failure, we've got to get in. I'm a Navy guy. If you've got the metaphor, if you've got, a hole in the side of the ship, let's get it fixed and hobble over to dry dock and then do it fully. I get that. Repairing, replacing the broken parts, and then going on. I'm a little more proactive than that. And I'd like to just introduce the idea and hope that it stays. I too am leaving the board, but the board's opportunity for success, it will stay. And the big key here, deficient, failing, that type of thing, I get it. I get they need support. I get all that. But what I'd like to see is a mentality where we don't just look around for our best once we have failure or deficiency. I'd like to see us, and we're talking about labor, we're talking about brilliant minds, we're talking about the best. I'd like to see us really accent paying for the job that gets done and as extra reward, if you will, to get the pay out there, to get the best, because every deficit, every turnaround school, every failure costs a kid maybe his future. So I want to start in ahead of time. Pay the extra money then, and maybe you still have some failures, or once in a while you have a blowout. But let's say we are only run on the best tires, and we don't have failures, and we pay extra, and we get in there and we get the job done. And those that really succeed, we reward the dickens out of them, and it's not real adversarial. We say, hey, you're great at this, a lot of blue ribbons, let's get some pay going, and let's get it happening, and let's head off failure. Let's head off deficit, retention, the kind of words that Dad would say if I brought home a report card with a bunch of F's on it, hey, you failed. And that wasn't acceptable. It just wasn't acceptable, with the exception of the second grade. Einstein and I both flunked the second grade, and a few other folks. So I'm saying let's put the money where our intentions are, where our 5-year plan is. Let's put the money with these teachers, and let's put the best in there at the most problematic spot and come out ahead without failure. Failure is just unacceptable to me, and I just have a real problem with it. I guess you're going to have some, but I don't have to like it, and I don't have to approve it. I just don't like the idea of spending extra money. I'll go along with this one because these are in place and we have failures right now. But If we can avoid that, boy, you're going to get my vote if you want to be on the school board. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Chair Cummings, is this item 13.5?
This is item 13.5.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the out-of-county school board member travel?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Thor, seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Any discussion?
Yes, Chair. Wow, this seems to be a repeating pattern. District 2 speaking up, but it's all right. These are important issues. I would like to, as a steward of funds, I would like to look more closely at this kind of a school board association several days at the Hyatt. I think we can do this several days at home in a what do they call it, Skype, or in an electronic version of this, and save thousands of dollars. Now, one thing you would miss with that is talking to other fellow school board members. That I think, I don't care if you're a cowboy or you're a gunfighter or whatever you are, being around people that can help you do your job better, I get that, and it has validity. But we can do it a lot less expensively. We can reduce these costs by maybe coming more into the center of the state, maybe moving these venues around, maybe not putting as much hardship on each individual school district if everybody joins into the school board association for these multi-day meetings. And then the final point on this really has nothing to do with the money, except it's just more prudent to not spend money that isn't necessary and to use experts here in Marion County. I am not enamored of the idea of going off and declaring someone an expert, or maybe bringing in smaller groups that you can interact with that might be more appropriate to your needs or activities or district size, for example, or problems. There's just better ways of doing it than going off to a 4-star, 5-star, whatever star it is. It's a little bit heavy duty when people are struggling to put a full tank of gas in their car, when we're struggling to pay our teachers, when we're struggling to do different things like that. So while I'll vote for this, it gives me an opportunity to speak to it. And I don't like picking a group of equals and then calling them experts that then can come, I don't know, almost, they have a thing called masters. They give you a certificate if you're if you perform to their standard. I just don't buy it. Why spend the money? Why do it? Why not stay home? Let them come to us if in fact they're that valuable. So I'm in favor of this, and I see some value, but maybe a Days Inn level value, not a Hyatt level value.
I'm sorry.
Board Member King.
You're all right. Thank you, Chair.
Board Member King.
Thank you. There is value to what this future school board is going to be going to. They're at the Hyatt a couple days. They're not there several days. They're there 1 or 2 days. And the Florida School Board Association, they vote on where they will attend. And so that would be that decision. But there is some validity, and it's very important, especially for our new school board members that are coming in. When you are a school board member, you do not have the opportunity to speak to your other school board members about anything that you will be voting on, because if you do, you're violating sunshine law and you go to jail. So what this does is it provides a lot of opportunity for school board members to gather, have meetings, collaborate, but you also have the opportunity to have presentations of what's working in other districts, not just mediocre, not what's not working, but what is actually working in other districts. So it will give the school board great information on that. If there's concerns that are going on in the state, for example, we were talking about safety last week. When unfortunate events happen, when Marjorie Stoneman, Douglas Stone, when that happened, we had the people on the committee come in and talk to us and tell us, this is what happened, this is how we can become better. So it's not a waste of taxpayer dollars. It's not like these board members are going to attend this meeting at this grand hotel and just sit in a room and eat bonbons and have fun. It's not that at all. They're there all day. They're in sessions, work sessions, and they're learning and becoming board members. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an explanation of what actually takes place at those meetings. So I will not be attending those meetings, but I will gladly I'll vote here in a minute, but I'm going to do it gladly because it's important.
Thank you. Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Pardon my outburst of laughter. Honestly, a couple of things that were just spoken about I would like to speak to. The first one is what was just described as a virtual conference is exactly how I was initiated into school board. In 2020, when I became a school board member, the conference was virtual. I can assure you it was not nearly as effective as having a face-to-face conference. Sitting at the computer screen for 2.5 straight days of session after session after session, not being able to engage with anyone else was not a comfortable nor an engaging scenario that I would wish on anyone. That's point number one. Point number two. As someone who has planned conferences and been a part of conference planning, I also understand that the Florida School Board Association has chosen the Grand Hyatt for this conference for at least 20 to maybe 30 years, in part because they have reduced room rates that they get every year. They have adequate and exceptional conference capabilities in that setting, and they've chosen it because it's basically in the middle of the state, close to an airport for those who are in the Panhandle, and all of the other scenarios as to why this makes it a wonderful opportunity for school board leaders and superintendents and attorneys. It's the joint conference of all of those groups of people getting together, coming together for unified professional development. To speak to the master's, quote unquote, which is actually called certified school board member status, not master's, certified school board member status. There are a set number of classes that are required to take, such as school finance, learning all about school board finance, how we're funded, those kinds of valuable information on the FEFP and all of the nuances to finance. We learn about bargaining. We learn about advocacy. We learn about all kinds of things that you can only learn from school board members and or experts on Florida school boards. The only Marion County-based experts that we might be able to ask would be former Marion County School Board members. We have no other experts on being a Florida School Board member, a member in the state of Florida, other than those who are previous school board members. Chair, I'm ready to vote.
Not yet. As I got to say something. You and Ms. King have eloquently said so many things, and yes, the Florida School Board Association meeting is held in Tampa. It's strategically placed there for travel, so that it is convenient for everyone around the state. I don't want anyone to go away from this meeting thinking that this is some type of vacation or retreat where we're laying on the beach and with our Mai Tais. It has nothing to do with that, because, to be honest with you, I'm more tired that week when I'm there than I am when I'm at home, because we're gone all day. Nobody's laying up in the room. And for the record, every board member has the opportunity to go or not go. It's their choice. And you only get out of it what you want to get. If you decide to stay in the lobby and drink coffee and meander with the vendors, that's your business. But if you want to go into the sessions and learn something on how to be a positive school board member and how to work well, because one of the things that I learned by going to this board is how to bond with the other board members and how to communicate with the other board members in sessions such as these, so that we aren't pulling every freaking item off the agenda, so that we do know how to get the answers that we need to get done, so that we are an effective board. And when we talk about this master's thing, it wasn't a master's thing. It was called a master board training. And they did come to us several times, and they will be coming back to us again, because it is of value not only to this board, but it's of value to this district. So I'm ready to vote. Are we ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes unanimously 5-0. Mr. Davis, you got any comments?
Yes, sir.
Attorney Powers?
Nothing further from legal, sir.
Superintendent?
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, just have an item to share for the work session coming up on November 3rd. We have moved goal 1 to the 3rd from the 20th, because if you remember, we had to postpone that. We had a rather full agenda on the 20th. I also want to let you know that we will be posting as a topic an introduction to the localized overcrowding in the southwest area of our county, and we will just be presenting a timeline to discuss what that process will look like. So, of course, there'll be follow-up work session on that, as well as opportunity for community input, but we will just be introducing a timeline on November 3rd to address the localized overcrowding in the southwest area of Marion County. And that concludes my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Board Member Thor, tonight you get it first.
Well, thank you, sir. Okay. I'll start my remarks tonight by saying thank you to our students. Over these past couple of weeks, our kids have been our heroes. Thank you, students, for putting what you've been taught into direct action. See something, say something, do something. That natural surveillance, your courage to speak up to trusted adults, your quick thinking helped avoid tragedy. Every complication and challenge in society comes directly into our schools. Too many kids are living disrupted lives. Kids want a happy and productive school experience that they can look back on with fondness. We all get to make choices. Are we kindness creators, or are we the masters of mistreatment? As adults, what kind of examples are we setting for our kids? Savage used to be a derogatory term some used to describe our Native American Indians. Now, that same word is being thrown around society like it's an attribute to be celebrated. Words matter. Kids have incredible insight. They notice everything, and they need kind, caring adults in their lives now more than ever to offset the challenges they often face too young and too soon. As a board member and as a citizen, I'm committed to continue doing my part. We heard tonight just how important basic school attendance is. 99% of life is showing up, not showing out. Educational neglect in the form of truancy is recognized in at least 24 states as a form of child abuse. And it must be recognized as that here in Florida too, in my opinion. I attended truancy court last week, and I'd like to thank our district staff, especially our school social work services department and our legal department, for their passion and commitment to kids. I'd also like to thank Judge Scott, who is sitting in for Judge Yeomans, and Judge Yeomans too, for doing all they legally can to get and keep kids in school. We need our kids in school, and we need them to be safe and well treated while they are with us. It's a partnership and an almost sacred pact we make with parents and caregivers to be in loco parentis. A school districts and A schools have something in common, and it's A+ involvement. Kids arrive on time and ready to learn. The first few years before kids even start school are both precious and critical to future school success. We have so many exciting opportunities in our schools. We are working tirelessly to create and fund more. Please consider joining your kids' schools as a PTA, PTO member, SAC committee member, or volunteer. Your feedback, I read it, on social media is great and appreciated, and your direct support in being at your kids' schools and events, any way you can make this happen, is even better. Please remember, early voting starts on this Thursday, October 27th, and voting day is Tuesday, October 8th. There are initiatives on the ballot in this election that directly impact the continued safety and success of our children and our schools. Your vote will help ensure that you have a strong voice in determining your child's and our community's children's safety and educational future. Voter turnout in our local elections is historically low. Please make sure that you're part of the percentage that makes the difference. And in this era of seemingly endless negative distractions, please consider following the example of our student heroes. Do what's right, do your best, and treat others the way you want to be treated. Thank you, and that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Board Member Thor. Board Member King.
Yes. This evening, I would like to use my time to honor the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Gonzalez. He was the current acting chair of the ICROC committee. And for those of you that don't know, that's the Independent Citizens Referendum Oversight Committee that looks over the referendum, the 1 mil. And we've had it, as stated earlier, we did have it for the last 8 years, and it is on the ballot again. Mike passed away suddenly, almost 2 weeks ago tomorrow, on his way to visit a school. He was a hard-charging lieutenant colonel in the Army, and he truly breathed red, white, and blue, as his son stated at his funeral. But eventually, he became a warrior for Marion County public students in his winter years. He was an astute protector of our tax dollars, And again, he was a warrior for Marion County students in our community. Most importantly, Mike was a loving husband to his wife, Deborah, his children, and his grandchildren. And I'm truly grateful and honored and thankful for his representation for the last 6 years. And may Mike, may he just rest in peace. Thank you. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Board Member King. Mr. Browning?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would like to second that, and I know he served under Ms. Kelly's King's district, and I really appreciate that tribute to him. Colonel Gonzalez was the right man at the right time for a lot of years. He was Army, Special Forces, high-ranking down in those Contra type situations down in South America fighting communism. Very, very well recognized, and he was struggling and he was still giving. And I would like to see something take place. I've talked with some folks. I think we have some funds, perhaps at the Lions Club. I don't want to speak for them because they'll speak for themselves. But I'd like to see some tribute, some lasting plaque. And I don't know how, what, when, where exactly, but I would like to see. I know the superintendent will address all issues procedurally, but this is when the man passes on the way. He's doing this. He was taking dialysis. I don't want to go into medical, but that man was making enormous sacrifice, and his family was as well. And I really appreciate you making those comments, Ms. King. Quickly, the Forest High School incident, the 30 people or so estimated arrive. We've got all the tools. This is sort of, I call it, I made a note, it's a slam dunk. We need that professional staff. We need our staff to be able to go in and be a part of that, especially when you're dealing, I've spoken to it, but when you're dealing with threats from outside, inside, all around, to have already evidence lockers, staff, control staff, short, strong chain of command. Boy, I was taken with Sheriff Billy Wood's comments and his willingness to take this on, and I think it'll save us money. On truancy, nothing is more important than getting a child to school. And the main reason when I was in school that you didn't go, if you got away with it, is because you didn't want to. You wanted to go do something else, and you weren't that responsible. And there were consequences. And boy, they came down quick and hard. I met with Judge Omens. As a matter of fact, I gave her, because we're a school district, I gave her an A+ from my district, from my position, because she has addressed this as a remedial type situation. It isn't just, hey, I'm the judge, 90 days, or whatever it is. Boy, have they got some programs, and it's so exciting. And those are the ones that get that far. I told her we would be working to make sure very few got that far, and especially this great span of time. I was so taken with the presentation today. We've got families, we got activities, we got fatherhood, all those community things. Superintendent handling the practical side of things, getting to kids. 1 day goes by, 2 days goes by, the world comes apart because there's consequences. The child realizes he needs to be in school, or she. So that's a big deal. Yeah, I want to see that down to 1/10 of 1%, that type of thing. I mean, I just have no tolerance for society tolerating something that shouldn't be tolerated. Now, the issue of us doing our responsible part when we put up a school. I'm referring now to Stanton Weirsdale, near and dear to my heart, near and dear to really everyone's heart, because it's the 65th year, and we must. I've got these to pass out. If you could pass those over to the chairman, and let me take this and this. Let's go in this direction. Okay, thank you.
Is this the same stuff that we've already been given before?
No, sir. Those. This is. This is from the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is beautiful. I made a couple of notes here. Let's make sure we get into the same world. The family here, we started on this a couple of weeks ago, but we had technical difficulties and we're not able to move ahead. But the idea of meeting our responsibility as board members and the interaction with the county and the school board needs to come right together on this one and just handle it when we do, what do we call that, board member, Thrower, the committee you're on, say that word again, the committee? Interlocal, thank you. The interlocal agreement addresses the sidewalks, addresses the streets, addresses these things, and if we're going forward with that, we've got to start where we are right now. So, what I'm about to show you is actual online. We've got these people. We've got a 12-year bus driver that used all the roads. We've got law enforcement individuals that have a long career in prisons. We've got 30-year work teaching disabled children. All these people have been part of this, years in the food service, years in clerical, Korean War veteran, Vietnam War veteran, all they walk these roads. Mrs. Sarah Gavins with her 72 years of military service out of that little tiny group down there. So when you see this, the image that I want to portray is the difference of 65 years ago. Here's what it looked like. It was different. It was built under segregation. And today we have unitary status. That means we pull them together. You can't tell the difference between a black community or a minority community and a white community. So in this case, you can. We need to address it. I think visual helps. So if you would, Mr. Kevin Christian, this is Public Relations 101. If you would kick that loose, I would appreciate it.
For the record, how long is this video?
7 minutes, sir.
A call to action. Stanton Weirsdale. Hello, this is Don Browning. I'm the District 2 representative to the Marion County School Board. I want to talk today about the Stanton Weirsdale School and some serious problems that we have in that neighborhood. The 2,000 yards around the school is small. It's been underserved, and we just have to do better in order to be safe. As a community, we must learn that our actions and inactions have consequences. While the school is just fine, the surrounding 2,000 yards or so of the traditionally historic black neighborhood is just void of services. Signs in the white area just do not exist in the black area. This area is black. Now, this is the main entryway from the east for the walk-in zone. And this green sign signifies that for many, many decades, the county maintained this area, but they do just a terrible job of it. Now they've actually stopped totally. The community's come together. They've worked very closely with any authority that would come and try and make things right. But it's actually, it's evolved into a very dangerous situation if you're doing walk-in. We've raised the money twice, once with DOT and once with HUD, but the money gets used in the white area. Our idea is to pretend that there's no difference between races, no black, no white, that everybody's the same here, and we can just fix these roads. They're very short. It's a very small area. It's easy to see what the white area looks like. This is the white area, and this is the black area. It gives you a nice contrast. You can see this never caught up. Here's a white church, even has hand railings, sidewalks, the whole works. Here's a black church. This floods out because water is sent into this area. See, these zones are very close together. One is safe, it has the signs, the other does not. Now this is dangerous. I mean, really dangerous. We've got to take responsibility. A child walking along here, cars will come right around that corner, and it is tough. No sign to give them an indication that this is where kids are gonna be crossing, coming right along that sidewalk. I mean, it is so dangerous. Here we are from the other direction, and you see up by the mailbox, pretend like that's a little kid walking. Then pretend like you're the driver. You wouldn't see that child. If that was a small child up there, coming along, skipping along, looking ahead, 50 feet from the school, I mean, this is just absurd. It's obscene. It's improper. We've got to fix this. We've got to get it straightened out. Ask yourself, are you doing anything to help solve the problem? Are you doing anything to get the signs, the safety signs, the sidewalks, all of these features down in the Stanton area? All along here, things are out of date, improper, and just many chances for major accidents. We can have school bus stop signs. We can have all the correct things, just like in the white area is shown here. Let's just get this thing straightened out. See, the school is a major draw to this area. The benefits of bringing the school up to modern times, this walk-in area, is just, it's overwhelming. There is no downside. The community's with us. Everybody is willing to help. The school district is on board. We just have to pull it together. The roads, we've raised the money for the roads, and the roads are short. It's very short, but they're dangerous. And this is not a proper walk-in area. You can't ask a kid to go walking along in a zone like this. It's just totally, of course, it's improper. We're doing piecemeal. We're bringing in private money. We're trying to stop the packing house next door from sending water over into the black community. We're trying to get sidewalks in. We've done walkarounds. We're studying the area. We've got to eliminate all of these retention ponds in the black area because of the mosquito issues. We actually got paving in the faculty parking area. That was a big help. We've had commissioners down here. We've had all kinds of people that said, yes, we will pull things together. Here we have Congressman Webster. He's been down. We've had a lot of folks that are it's really not their total job to fix this little tiny area, but they're ready and willing to put the effort into it. If we can step forward and I think just get the plan implemented, we can pretend that there's no difference between black and white in this area, and we'll be miles ahead. What a beautiful neighborhood. It's a wonderful school, and now it was been led by beautiful people, all these years, and now we just have to solve the problem. This is the old Presbyterian minister that was here, and the DOT folks, and the law enforcement, and nursing out of Ocala. I mean, we've had legislators, we've had a lot of people here, and I think if the community gets behind it, we can just light this candle and make it all happen. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate you watching and taking the time to get involved. Working with the county, we've gone door to door, and we now have the HUD money to get this job done, but something is holding it up. This black area was actually one of the original settlements, but over the years, all the work orders made improvements in the white area. So now we have to rectify the problem. And we can do this. It's really not that difficult. All right, get on board, help with the solution. All right, thanks. Hope we can count on you.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. So just the idea, we have a walk-in zone, we have a responsibility to make that walk-in zone work. I believe that if we wholeheartedly go with the county commission and really dig into this thing, y'all notice safety issues. We have safe school money. We have HUD money. The money is not the issue. We just have to pull the trigger and make it work. In the front of every school in the district should meet that unitary status for a walk-in zone. You saw a child could not walk through that water on the way, and that's just on a regular. This is Florida, so that rains on a regular basis. So I bring that to you. I ask that you have a workshop, that we invite the county commission to come over and help us retain unitary status. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have for this evening.
Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. I first wanted to say thank you to Ms. King for sharing the tribute of Dr. Gonzalez. I had the opportunity to meet him actually during the last ICROC meeting. It was the first time he and I had ever met, and we were looking forward to getting to know each other better. God bless his family during this really difficult time. Also, thank you to Ms. Thrower for mentioning our student champions who live the motto, see something, say something. I'm grateful that recently school crises were averted because students made a difference and spoke up. Thank you to our student champions. Tonight in our consent agenda, we approved 4 internal audits, and I'd like to offer kudos to the Marion After School programs for a perfect audit 3 years in a row. With more than $4.5 million budget, it's great to know Ms. Eubanks and her team are great stewards of the resources paid for by parents utilizing that service. As you've heard a few times tonight, we continue to struggle with attendance in our schools. In my opinion, less than 95% is still not as positive as we would like it to be, and less than 90% is unacceptable. Please help us. I'm grateful that tonight's inspiration and pledge by Miss Sandy from Oakcrest addressed attendance challenges and successes. As the saying goes, 80% of success is just showing up. Well, our motto is that we're trying to help every student succeed. So if success is showing up and we're trying to help students succeed, any and all suggestions are welcome. How are we going to ever have success when we don't actually have kids showing up? So this is kind of a community plea that I say. If you see kids in the community at stores or on streets during the middle of a school day, ask questions. Help us. Ask those questions. I know that we certainly are open to multiple solutions and would love to hear suggestions from our community. This past Monday, we had multiple schools at less than 90% attendance. As Ms. Sandy mentioned, that is a difficult day for them. They already know that Mondays are tough days. But the really tough part about that for our district is when we have multiple schools with less than 90% attendance, the ones that are really struggling the most are already our lowest performing elementary schools. those are the schools that we continue to see numbers in the 80s or very low 90s, meaning 10 to 12% of students are not attending school. I know that Miss Sandy brought forth several ideas tonight, and I love how they've put together a task force. They've been able to move that average percentage up 3 or 4 points. That's dozens of students. Percentages is just one thing, but dozens of students make such a difference in every school. I know that Ms. Thrower wants to potentially make truancy a part of our district's legislative platform discussion. So at this point, I say we consider any and all options to help increase attendance as we finalize our plans. We had a lot of conversation tonight also about the student progression plan regarding the numbers of students who aren't at grade level. We didn't get there overnight. I hope the attention that's been drawn to this issue tonight and in the last couple of sessions doesn't stop. I remember the first time as a board member that I realized what the actual percentages look like of students that aren't on grade level and the students and percentages that aren't mastering skills. It was shocking then and is still shocking now and continues to deserve attention, which is precisely why we are putting forth plans like tonight's student progression plan as well as our strategic plan. Will we be able to make the gains that we desire this year or next? I'm not sure. I'm hoping so. We certainly are putting in plans in place and monitoring very frequently to ensure we are hitting the milestones that we're trying to reach. That's why we're tracking and monitoring all of those measurables all along the way. But again, I have to stress, we didn't get here overnight. Just because a spotlight is being shined in this direction right now doesn't mean it shouldn't have been shined year and year and year before. And it has been. It has been through the years. But I just want to express that while we are putting that light on it right now, I hope that that continues to be the forefront of what we focus on, because student achievement is why we're here and why this board operates. We received an email this week about the FSBA federal and legislative platform finalization. We have been, as members of the Florida School Board Association, we all have the ability to voice our feedback. So board members, if you would like for me to collectively submit feedback based on the platform suggestions, or if you would like to individually reach out to Dr. Thomas or to Ms. Messina, please do so by Thursday. If you have specific things that you would like for me to address with the FSBA federal or legislative platforms, I'll be happy to do so. Those are not things that we will collectively vote on. We will only be voting on our individual district platform. But as members of FSBA and as your advocacy representative, I'll be happy to express your thoughts if you would like for me to share that. Two final things. I will not be in attendance. I know I mentioned this at the work session, but for the board meeting, I want to say I will not be in attendance for the November 17th work session, as I will be attending an education conference for further professional development. And on November 22nd, I wanted to mention to the board that our organizational meeting that day, as well as our board meeting, are actually several hours apart. And so the last thing I wanted to mention is, should we consider moving that closer? And on that note, I'll hand it off to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Campbell. Before I start my comments, let me give you a few meeting reminders. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled on November 3rd, 2022 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss Achieve 2026 Goal 2 and 3 updates and Southwest localized rezoning. The following administrative briefing and work session is scheduled on November 17th, 2022. The purpose of the work session is to discuss attendance processes. A special administrative briefing and work session has been scheduled for December 5th, 2022 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss Neola policies update. In between the 17th and the December 5th is our November 22nd reorganizational meeting. We are scheduled to be here at 10:30, I think, in the morning, and then we'll have the meeting, the swearing in, the meeting, and then there'll be a break. I'm going to ask, is there anything on the calendar or the agenda, Superintendent, for that meeting that we can move and just possibly cancel that school board meeting for that day? I think there may only be one or two things on there. If it's something that we can move that's not pressing.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking, I don't see any reason that we cannot do that and move it to another day.
Board, you guys are in agreement that we can go ahead and cancel that meeting for the 22nd. We'll have our reorganizational meeting, but the school board meeting would be canceled for that day. I think that's 2 days before Thanksgiving. That gives our folk a chance to kind of move so we can do what we need to do. But it takes into consideration of trying to have our staff here all day as well.
Chair?
Yes,
Perhaps you just said it, but I just want to be sure that our new school board members theoretically, I think statutorily, they could go on the 8th, but if that's not the case,
no.
Okay, let me just finish. If that's not the case, then I know it has to be a school board meeting. So perhaps we'd have to advertise, but you wouldn't want that to go by and then put those people off.
We're not talking about that.
So let's make sure that we get it
The
done.
recommendation is not to alter the organizational meeting or the swearing in. All of that will still take place. There was a school board meeting scheduled for later that day after the swearing in.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking that we cancel.
Can you, my question is because it is short notice and I know it's inconvenient and it doesn't sound fun. I'm exiting. I can tell you there's been a few times that it has been close to Thanksgiving and there might be something that, and I don't know what it could be. I would probably give the superintendent a little time to really make sure there's nothing that needs to be voted on that evening before. I understand people not wanting to be here, but past practices, the board was there that evening,
Right.
and I know we weren't there long, but I know there were things that we needed to vote on. So I would just suggest maybe giving the super some time to double check with her staff to make sure, because I would hate to put them in a bind if we can wait.
Thank you, Ms. King. And we canceled it last year. That school board meeting was canceled last year. And I think right now, go ahead, Superintendent.
I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you, Chair. There's one item pending, so that's why I'm reviewing the board docs. And so we would look to move that up or move that to a later date. May need to move it up.
Yeah. So there's only
Would the swearing in then,
all
sir?
that will still take place.
But I think statutorily it needs to be a school board.
That doesn't change.
A school board meeting.
That doesn't change. This has nothing to do with the swearing in or anything of the such.
Okay.
This is talking about the school board meeting that happens after that.
After that.
That day.
But let me just make a point. Technically, we want to get off on the right foot. Is that a school board meeting? Because the statute says school board meeting.
Statute does not, what the statute you're referring to is 1001.371. And that is in November of each year, the district school board shall organize by electing a chair. In an election year, that date shall coincide with the requirements of 100.0413A. It may elect a vice chair, and the district school superintendent shall act ex officio to the secretary. It goes on to explain the requirements. Everything that we're talking about here is to maintain that all on the same date. So the question is as to the second portion, which is a school board meeting afterward, any additional meeting, should that meeting be moved up to the point of immediately after the organizational meeting?
So would you be saying then, in other words, statutorily, it needs to be a school board meeting?
What statute?
I don't have it here in front of me, but you can just Google it. It needs to be a school board meeting following the election. So
There would be.
that will be
The reorganizational meeting is the school board meeting.
is a school board meeting. That right there is my question. And let's,
Attendance and all of the regular things happen during the organizational meeting.
right. And so, as long as that is a school board meeting and it follows the election, boom, it's case, it's
Mr.
effective.
Browning, I haven't
It didn't sound like it was
I
a
haven't
school
asked
board
for
meeting.
any of that to be altered. I haven't asked for any of that to be changed. The meeting that I'm referring to is a meeting, the reorganizational meeting, the organizational meeting starts at 10:30 in the morning.
Okay.
That you come in, they get sworn in, we choose a chair and a vice chair and all that stuff. We set dates and times.
Yes.
That meeting ends. Then there's a 3 or 4 hour wait. And then there's another meeting. Correct.
Right, the regularly scheduled.
A regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, so there are two school board meetings on the same day.
Yes.
And it is a legitimate school board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Good. That answers my question.
Yes, sir.
That's good. Okay, good. You don't want to get started with a technical flaw that then backs things up.
And they're not.
Okay, perfect.
And that's why I asked the superintendent, and she's in agreement. She states that we can do it. So board, do we want to consider that tonight? And that way we have time for advertising and we can cancel that meeting.
How long do we have before,
Thank
is it 7 days
We need to,
for advertising? Do we have to settle this tonight is my question, because there's things that happen. And if everybody puts it on their calendar that they don't have to be here for a regular school board meeting on the evening of November 22nd, then people will be gone, which is understandable. So it is now October 25th. So we're a month out.
we're in the right time frame for advertising and all those things.
Okay.
And if there was something that should arise, we always have the purview to call a special meeting if something arose.
That is true. I just want to make sure that that's conveyed as, we're here to do the work. And even though it's Thanksgiving week, the work may or may not need to continue. And there's a mechanism to continue it if that happens in an extenuating circumstance. I believe what I'm hearing is that there's only one thing on the agenda, and it must be something typical. Dr. Gullett?
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I actually found two, going back through and refreshing. We have an item right now for Florida Blue agreement for an amendment and for a bid for buses. So those are two items. I'm just looking at the calendar.
Those two could either be moved up.
Or
Believe me, if I asked this question, I already looked at it. They can either be moved up or moved
back. Right. I was looking at the calendar. It would be December 13th.
Right.
That would be the next meeting.
So, Chair, my only question is, if we needed to hold a meeting, because we're still basically a month out, could we change our meeting time for that one meeting to 11:30 instead of 5:30?
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually hold a board meeting, handle that business at 11:30, and
then knock it out.
And be done.
Knock it out. That's perfect.
Can we do that? I mean, I know it would just, we're going to be approving our board meeting schedule on that day, so it's kind of interesting that, I don't know, is that something we can do, Attorney Powers?
I think that's something I would need to, Mr.
I
Christian.
would look into what details we're talking about here, because what we've got to do is, we've got to have the organizational meeting in November, because that is an absolute requirement of statute. Apart from that, we can alter the time of any subsequent meeting. If we're going to cancel it now, then we have to re-advertise it for, if we cancel it now, we'd have to re-advertise it if we need it. So I would urge that perhaps the board wishes to indicate to the superintendent that they would like her to look into what needs to be on that meeting date. And if the board gives consensus for it to be moved forward, and then we can re-announce the meeting if it's going to be moved forward.
So Superintendent, what's your purpose?
But as of leading this meeting tonight, I would advise that it be maintained as is unless we are certain But there's no additional need.
So Superintendent, you can either move it up, move it back. We can go as it is. It doesn't make a difference. I'm going to be here. So
Me too.
but I do understand that there could be people that may not be here and we may not have a quorum. That's what I'm looking at.
That could happen that morning.
Correct.
Because that's what's coming to my mind. Like one time there was a split vote.
Correct.
And it was that evening that it was final. I mean, you just never know.
Correct.
I'm just.
And I'm just trying to get ahead of it before.
Why was the reason for moving it between 2 hours apart or 3 hours apart? Why
That's
would
just the
you
way it was.
do it?
That's just the way it was scheduled.
Well, why wouldn't we just do it? Just do it. Just pick a time, and then do it. What's the problem with doing it at 5:30? Just do it.
Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I'm flexible. Our chamber will remain flexible. I'm looking and thinking about the calendar, and it is, we don't have school that week. So there are some staff members that will not be present. They're taking leave. So I just want to bring that forward as a consideration. Again, we remain flexible, but there would be some staff members that are here. So if there are items that are brought in at that meeting, they may not be here to speak to those items. So just a consideration. Typically, it's a lighter meeting because we do have a lot of staff that will be out because schools are closed.
Would this work, Chair or Superintendent, to have, I'm just going to pick a date. We have the election on the 8th. Following that, we call a special meeting and you do it. And you do it, it's November, you do it, at an appropriate, I don't know, is that not or you just do it correctly at the regular time?
If I'm not mistaken, Attorney Powers, is it set the day that we have to do the...
We have previously announced our organizational meeting, and it does have to be in November, but we've previously noticed it for that date and time.
Right.
If we were going to alter anything, that one, the 11:30 would not be the one to move. If we were going to alter anything, that's its own special school board meeting. So if anything, we could alter and move the later meeting up if needed, or cancel the later meeting if it's not needed.
Pull it down.
And that isn't a decision, as to that meeting, that's not a decision you need to make today. And that is a decision that, depending upon whether or not there are items on the agenda for it, it would naturally become canceled and notice would go out that it was canceled.
And if I may, Chair, Attorney Powers, statutorily, the oath of office needs to occur that Tuesday because it's 2 weeks after.
Correct.
So just, I don't know if that was
Yes.
stated, but yes, that's statute.
Ms. Dora?
I feel like we're solid on the organizational meeting, we're within statute. It's late, we don't have to make the decision about the regular school board meeting that just happens to be at 5:30 on that same day. We don't have to make that decision tonight. I say let's table it.
So if we table it and we come back, our next meeting is in November. November
That is correct.
what?
November 8th.
Election day.
Are we going to be able to properly, are we putting our people under a crunch trying to change all this stuff when we can make a decision now?
I'm happy. I can make it now.
We can let it go. I'll be here. It doesn't make a difference for me. So we can table if that's what y'all want to do. I'm just saying, whatever. Yes, Ms. Starr.
Thank you. Well, if we're thinking about staff availability, if we're thinking about being able to be sensitive and manage the time, my initial thought process to all of this in my discussions with Dr. Gullett was it seemed odd to me, if we're going to have a regular school board meeting, then why would we have it at 5:30 when we have an organizational meeting at 11 o'clock, which takes like 10, 15 minutes? So let's just move it up and get it done. Staff can then plan on it. If there's staff that needs to be available for what is on the agenda, then maybe there's something on the agenda that would need to be moved. And if those things need to be moved and then there's nothing left on the agenda, then I guess we won't have a regular meeting.
That's what I
Right.
said.
I would agree that that's a statutorily compliant.
It's as simple as that, so let's just make a decision.
You just said what I said.
Getting hot.
Moving in the right direction. In other words, and the new board members need to know when they assume office.
They would assume office that day.
Yes, they know that. That's been
They
established.
know that, but still.
Is it fair of us, sorry to interject, is it fair of us to then have those same board members who have just become board members to be prepared to vote on whatever we're going to vote on that day? Will they even have access to, I mean, they'll have access to board docs, but if there's something on the back end that's a board, right, not the complete board docs, I mean, is that fair of us to say, okay, now you guys go and spend the next 4 hours doing your homework on making sure that you can vote on these two issues or whatever that might be? I mean, I don't know that that's, personally, I don't know that that's fair to them that we say, okay, you guys got to come vote on this now. They might want to go to our annual conference and get their new school board member training before they have to actually vote on consequential matters. Just thinking.
So I'll just say it so we can move on, because I didn't mean it for this to be a long. It would be my recommendation to this board that we either cancel the meeting after the reorganizational meeting, or that we either move it up. One of those two choices.
I have no problem with that. Do you?
Which one?
With the latter, where you are essentially moving the 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock. 11:30, or call it whatever you want.
My original response was that the superintendent was looking like she was scrambling, right? So I'm under no circumstances should we ever want to not have a meeting and get in the way of this district doing its job. That's what I saw. So that's when I said, let's double check and make sure, because in the past, I guess I wasn't, I didn't have a board that was fair that let me take that night off, because when I did, I was at that meeting right off the bat and later on that evening. But if the superintendent is saying there's no important business, then I guess you guys need to do what's best for you, and a decision does need to be made for the staff and everyone involved. I'm indifferent. I was just putting that out there, so that's it. But I would suggest when you do your organizational planning and your calendars, maybe look at that date next year and then not even have this scenario happen, and then that way you're kind of being proactive.
So my recommendation that we cancel the meeting. That's my recommendation.
I can go along with that. I won't be a board member at that time, but
you are now.
Yeah,
you
it
vote
doesn't
now.
matter.
and I can go along with it, and it will it's my interest to get this started correctly in the going forward. So I believe, if board members tell me if that would not get these new board members started correctly and continue the business of the school district, and that is to have one meeting instead of two, and have it at whatever time we deem, 11:30, if that's what it is, that's what it is, and do it. And then move forward, and you've got a new board, and you're meeting all of your responsibilities.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Thor?
I agree with Board Member King. I think in the future, in what the future is now, so to speak, it does make sense to have the organizational meeting and then not have a second meeting. I just think that's better planning moving forward. I do remember being elected and then having the organizational meeting and then being back at 5:30 for a meeting, and I actually pulled things off the agenda, so that was off to a great start. So, and it was definitely, hey, good planning is good planning, and when you learn things as you go. So let's just not keep doing the same thing, because that's the way we've always done it. Let's do it better. So as long as there isn't anything that comes up that we have to meet for, which we can do very quickly, should that arise, make that clear, our job never ends, even if the turkey's in the oven. So,
Ms. Campbell.
I'm fine either way, honestly. It doesn't really matter to me. We can cancel. My preference would be canceling it. And the reason for that is because our staff has a lot of work they have to do. We have our video production crew that has to be here. And it's not just the folks we see in the audience, it's all the people behind the scenes that have a lot of work to do to ensure that this board meeting flows smoothly. And I think that our incoming board members would probably appreciate the opportunity to actually have the back end access to board docs to be able to see the things that we can see sometimes to have a meeting like that.
I would like to chair, just for the board's consideration, not to belabor the point, but from the 8th, our only board meeting, if we cancel the actual board meeting on the 22nd now, in case it was an item that needed to get on last minute, we certainly can always call a special board meeting with limited notice. But our next board meeting after the 8th, because if we just did an organizational meeting, isn't until December 15th.
December 15th.
So you've got a period of over a month where, a month and a week, 5 weeks, where there's no board meeting unless there were to be a special meeting called. So,
but even if there's only 2 items on
if you wished to reserve this meeting and move it up, you could for the 8th and cancel it later, or for the 22nd and cancel it later, or you may simply just call it as a special meeting later if something comes up.
I think that would be more appropriate than to call it as a special meeting. We'll have a new board and a new reorganization, so that at that time, I think that board could take that up.
And Chair, the idea of that falls right in the middle. This board member will not be going to Tampa, I guarantee you, even if I'm not relieved of duty, and I stay on duty until relieved. Now, I would recommend to this board that there are values in those meetings. There are values. There are problems, but there are values. And I would say, be cognizant of the fact that they need to be on board to go, because they can't go, and I don't think they can go. I certainly they can't be paid for by the district if they're not already on board. There are just a lot of complications.
This has nothing to do with that. This does not hinder the 2 new school board members from being school board members on the date that they're supposed to be school board members. It does not prevent, or it doesn't prevent any of that.
Well, that's my only issue. That's my only concern, that they start off correctly.
And
once that's done,
we're going to make sure that you be able to transfer your peaceful transfer of power to the new school board member on the date that it's supposed to happen, so you don't have to go any longer than you have to go.
No, but once they receive the seat, it should not be odd in any regard, because it'll be challenged.
It won't.
If you get things odd, so let's just don't make it odd.
It won't be odd.
Let's go. Okay, perfect then. I don't see an issue. As long as they can start out fresh, clean, clear, with a great
Are you comfortable with us
hurrah,
canceling that meeting?
that's it.
Yes,
And
sir.
what you do after that is your own call.
Our superintendent is
I make a motion, we cancel the November 22nd, 5:30 PM regular school board meeting.
Need a second. And I can't second it.
Second.
Motion has been properly made and seconded that we cancel the November 22nd, 5:30 school board member. Ready for question?
Yes. My question is, and let's go on the record, that is a legitimate school board meeting, so it meets statute. At the, let's call it the 11:30 meeting. Would you weigh in, sir, so that we're sure?
I've weighed in to the degree that I can so far.
Well, weigh in the middle of the motion.
State specifically the question you ask, and I will.
Yes, the question is this 11:30, we'll call it the 11:30 meeting, does that meet statute requirement for a newly elected board member?
There is no 11:30 meeting.
Pardon me?
There is no 11:30 meeting. There is a 10:30 meeting.
Okay, call it the 10:30.
There's a 10:30 meeting for, let me state it one more time. There's a 10:30 meeting where they will be sworn in, and there will be a reorganizational meeting right after the swearing in. That is the legal part of putting those people in their seats?
Well, there's a component then, and I'm not prepared. I would have to have my computer in front of me. That statutorily they become board members the school board meeting after the election, the general election. That's the statute. That's the wording of the statute. Now, I want to be sure that they don't start under any question, that they start correctly. And if that is not a school board meeting, then...
Well, there's two different, so what's going to happen at 10:30, the new board members are going to come and they're going to take oath. So they're going to be sworn in. So as soon as they're sworn in, then you don't have any more.
No, I realize that, but
And immediately after they're sworn in, then they have an organizational meeting.
Which is a school board meeting.
Which is a school board meeting, and that's when they do their organization. That's when they decide who's chair, and I believe they vote on their calendar then, right?
Right.
Okay, so they'll vote on that. Then their meeting will end.
Okay.
And then usually, and I mean, maybe usually, I'm not going to say all the time, that evening they have like a regular school board meeting like we had tonight where they do official, like a business like this.
I got that. Now, again, let me rephrase it then. If the statute says that you take office after the general election, okay. It's a school board meeting after the general election. So there is no swearing in unless that's a school board meeting. That is, it's not a swearing in meeting, it's a school board. It has to be a school board meeting.
Right, and that's what they're doing.
And it is a school board meeting. Is that it?
I've said that several times.
Okay.
There is a
all right,
swearing
as long
in
as it is.
ceremony.
I want it on record.
There is on the record, there is a swearing in ceremony.
Which is a school board meeting.
There is a swearing in ceremony. And then after the ceremony of being sworn in, then there is a school board meeting, which is called the organizational meeting. That is the very first meeting for the new school board meetings, the organizational meeting.
I don't think you can have the former, the swearing in, until you have a school board, by statute, until you have the school board meeting.
Mr. Browning, you were sworn in when we were not in a regular board meeting. We had a board meeting following your swearing in.
You were sworn in.
But you were sworn in ahead of our board meeting on that evening. So the swearing in ceremony happens separately and apart from any school board meeting. We didn't have to be present when you were sworn in.
That's right.
And we don't have to be present when they're sworn in. But what happens when it's actually an election year, when we are bringing in new board members, is they're sworn in, and then we immediately go into a meeting, which is the reorganizational meeting of the school board. That's the way it happens. It did not happen that way whenever you were sworn in, sir, because you were not in a typical cycle.
I was appointed.
Right.
So as long as the statute, when I read the statute, it says that you become, see, they've been elected for a long time, that you have to wait until a school board meeting prior, following the general election. So if they can't be sworn in until there's a school board meeting, I think, time-wise. But maybe I'm wrong with that. That's why I'm asking the lawyer.
The attorney has made.
Here's my proposed solution. We either do it as the consensus of what the board has said to do right now, or if you wish for further input, I will draft a written memo by the end of the week and get it to the board, which indicates exactly what statutes are here, what's compliant. What I would tell the board is that if there's any doubt in your mind whatsoever, right now the proper vote would be to move the 5:30 meeting, since they're many hours apart, move the 5:30 meeting to 11:30. You have an 11 o'clock meeting scheduled already for the organizational meeting. There can be a passing of the gavel at 11 o'clock, and then at that point, at 11:30, once the organizational meeting is completed, if there is no further business to be conducted, or if there's nothing on the agenda, or actually there would be nothing on the agenda, the meeting could be canceled at any time and noticed as canceled. So that's entirely up to you. but we're talking about the statute says this and the statute says that, and I can't comment on, because I don't know which statute's the moving target we're talking about here. There are the ones that I've discussed already, and there's certainly statutes involving organizational meetings, but I don't, this could take a while.
And I'm comfortable with that in discussion here. I'm comfortable with that. The motion that's on the table right now.
Mr. Christian, can you clarify any of this? Kevin? Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
It's okay, sir. I've been through this a few times. That morning at 10:30, we will have school board members sworn into office. It is not a school board meeting. It has never been an official school board meeting for those oaths of office. Once those oaths of office complete, we take a brief break. Then we conduct an official school board meeting that is the reorganizational meeting where a chair and vice chair and various committee appointments are decided. Once that is complete, that meeting ends. We take a brief break. We have another meeting that is required once a year of the Marion School Board Leasing Corporation. So that's a third meeting. There's only one or two items on the agenda for the Marion School Board Leasing Corporation. That is required once a year. That meeting will end, and then you have the break until the 5:30 meeting that evening. So I appreciate all the discussion, but there is that leasing corporation meeting that is also part of the schedule that day. That is required by state statute once a year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr.
That is absolutely correct.
That's correct.
So
that was all anticipated to be at the 11 o'clock.
Correct.
hour.
It's a separate meeting, though.
Right.
It's a separate meeting.
It's a separate, there has to be a closing and opening of that meeting.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm saying. After those things have taken care of that morning, we don't have to be back until 3 or 4 hours later, whatever. And we've done it.
Sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And a board member cannot be a board member until they're sworn in.
Correct.
So first they have to be sworn in, and next you get to participate as a board member and vote and all of those things. So again, I believe the only thing that we are trying to finally figure out is, are we having the meeting, the regular school board meeting at 5:30? Are we canceling it, or are we moving it up? And I think I heard our attorney give a solution that sounded just fine and straightforward. And then I'd like to call the question.
Okay.
So all in favor, so he's already stated, all in favor of canceling the 5:30 meeting and signify by aye.
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 Opposed have the same signs. It passes. So the 5:30 meetings, we went through all that.
All right.
Okay. All righty, let's move on with my comments so we can do this. I too want to thank you, Ms. King, for representing the board at Dr. Gonzalez, Colonel Dr. Gonzalez's
All the titles.
funeral. We know that he was a tenacious fighter for schools, and he was tenacious about how referendum was handled. He was a proponent of the referendum. He was pushing hard for it to be passed again. And he understood that every dollar, every cent that the monies were collected from our taxpayers went to the items that the referendum spoke of, the language spoke of. So our condolences to the Gonzalez family, but we were blessed to have him as our leader of our ICROC committee. Truly he could be tough. That military part was with him, but he definitely had a heart of compassion and definitely believed in the students of Marion County and the staff of Marion County school system. So he will truly be missed, and our prayers are still with his family as well. And leading in with that, and Ms. Thor has already mentioned it, the general election is November 8th, 2022, and early voting does start this week. And I'm just going to go on record. I'm going to encourage everyone first to get out and vote. Please don't not vote. We need everybody to vote, but I'm also going to encourage that when you cast your vote, whether it's early or whether it's on the 8th, that you vote yes for the continuation of the 1 meal referendum. I do want to clear something up. This is not a new tax. This is a continuation of the 1 meal referendum, as many people may have misstated it or misspoke it. This is a continuation. This is a continuation of helping our kids to be successful. So again, as I said last meeting, a yes vote for this referendum is a yes vote for students, staff, and school safety. Thirdly, I want again, and we said it already, congratulate our, not congratulate, just celebrate the fact that the collective bargaining agreement with our MEA and the Marion County School District has been ratified, approved, and that's one less thing that our staff. I was coming in, and someone said, "Hey man, you really dressed up tonight." I was dressed up for that occasion because I think making sure that we celebrate getting this done for our staff was worth dressing up. I even wore my pink tie, so that was because I think this is that important to make sure that we do what we need to do. A couple other things, and I'll be through. In my travels lately, on last week, I took a trip to the southeast part of the county, to Stanton-Wearsdale. I've been there before. I didn't go to the school. I went to the area that we keep talking about, and I don't disagree with Mr. Browning as far as there has been some historic neglect to that community. I don't disagree with you, sir, on that. What I disagree with you on is the fact that it's not the school board's fight. I think the school board can be an advocate and say, yes, we need those things done, but it's not the school board's decision to change that. I think we need to figure out a way. I'm willing to work with you on this. I'm saying on record, on whatever we can do to get those things resolved. But as a school board, that is not our purview. I do believe that there are some neglectful issues with that area, and you're not the only one that's worked on it. I worked on this several years ago with the NAACP, the same issue, and I would love the fact that if you got all these connections with all these politicians that have the ability to do something, then let's go sit at the table with them. I'll pay for dinner to get it resolved. But it should not be that the school board is being feel that we have to, that we caused the problem and that we're continuing the problem when it's truly not our what we did. Also in my travels, I keep being asked on several occasions within our district. I've been asked, is our district being investigated by a grand jury? I've been asked that several times. Is Marion County Public School District being investigated by a grand jury? And I asked, for what? They said for mismanagement or some other various crime. And I said, no, why? And they said, well, it keeps coming up in the meeting. It's mentioned several times in our school board meetings. And even tonight it was mentioned twice that about a grand jury and mismanagement. I want to say for the record, and Attorney, you can tell me if I'm wrong, and Superintendent, you can tell me if I'm wrong. To my knowledge, this board is not currently under any investigation by a grand jury. Am I correct?
You are correct. However, I will also say no one would have a way of knowing if a grand jury was impaneled because the grand jury proceedings are secret. So the fact is, in other counties and some other districts have had grand jury proceedings, not only for school boards, for any governmental body or other entities as well. So
I just wanted to put that on the record that, to our knowledge, so You, other board members, you may not have been asked that question. I've been asked it because people are listening to every word that comes off of this dais. And sometimes the things that could be said can lead people to thinking that we're doing something wrong, or that we have done something wrong, or that we're possibly in trouble. So we're not. And then my final comment is I'm truly grateful, I'm truly prayerful and grateful to God, to our students, for our students, our staff, our Safe Schools Department, our local law enforcement, for the recent responses that they have given to our schools when a firearm has showed up on our campus. We keep talking about just Forest, but let's be truthful. It just happened at Forest. A couple of weeks ago, it happened at another school, and it's happened at other schools before. Maybe Forest got the high profile because of its being a high profile type school, but anytime a gun shows up in a school, it's an issue. Anytime a firearm or weapon is found at a school, it's an issue. Anytime they're on our campuses, it's an issue. So parents and students, I just want to say this, and we heard some parents say so tonight, or some family members talking about, the metal detectors and all those things. Those are things that Safe School does. When people are determined to break a crime, to break a law, to do something wrong, prevention goes a long way. But I've worked in the criminal justice system for a long time, and folk find a way to do things. So you have to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do all the time. That means not being complacent. If things look wrong, saying something that just doesn't feel right. A lot of things have been prevented because something didn't look right and somebody spoke up. But to the parents and to these students, there has to be a better way to resolve a conflict than having a gun on school campuses. I don't know. I know that we've had some changes, some things in our world happen with the pandemic and people being isolated. I know that some of the things with mental health and of the such we're dealing with. I know that kids are bullied a lot differently than when I was a kid. But I also understand that there has to be a better way. There is a better way than bringing a gun to school. Whether it's for protection, whether it's for show and tell, whether it's just to say I got it, or if they intend to actually use it. We don't need guns. We don't need students bringing guns to school. So I'm going to ask our community as a whole, bus drivers, bus aides, whomever, when you come into these contact, and we come in contact with these kids, if you see something that don't look right, if it's a bulge somewhere, if they're walking strangely or they're acting funny, please, that's the prevention that has to take place. That's the communication piece that has to take place that will prevent something from happening. And then our staff and our students not getting complacent in our schools, not propping doors open and not doing the things that we need to do to be safe. We have things in place to be safe, but they're only as good as the people that's going to be utilizing it. So I think I'm thankful to God that nobody got hurt in either of these last incidences where there are loaded weapons on these campuses. And I'm grateful to our departments and our local law enforcement agencies, but truly our Safe School staff, and for being there to make the situation, to hurry up and alleviate the situation. So thank you, and thank you for that. So that's my comments. Do we have any alternative placements, disciplinary matters? Yeah, we do. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through September 19th, 2022. Mr. Greg Davis, are there any parents who have submitted time requests to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 23-003E, JD 23-0010, JD 23-0012, JD 23-0013E, JD 23-0014, JD 23-0016, JD 23-0019, JD 23-0020, JD 23-0021, JD 23-0022, JD 23-0023, JD 23-0024, JD 23-0026, JD 23-0027, and JD 23-0028E with educational services through the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Chair Campbell.
And I'm confirming, Chair, that this is, that this packet and also what you just read did not include JD 23-0015, as that one has been pulled.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a motion.
You had a second?
Seconded by Vice Chair, motion by Vice Chair Campbell, seconded by Board Member King. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed have the same sign. Passes 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 23-0029 with educational services through the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year and the first semester of the 2023-2024 school year. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Thor,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign, passed unanimously. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Board Member Thor, seconded by Board Member King. Meeting is adjourned at 8:42 p.m.